Let's get some facts. 37% of you aren't subscribed to this channel. That's almost 4 out of 10 just freeloading the alpha. So come on, hit subscribe and I promise to keep leveling up the show with the best guests and the juiciest insight. Go on, do it now.
Hi everyone, here we are on the ground at day 2 of the Solana Breakpoint conference in Abu Dhabi. And right now I am joined by Armani Ferrante, CEO and founder of Backpack and Mad Lads. Armani, thank you so much for joining us. How are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm doing very well. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. The energy here is just absolutely contagious. The vibes are just so great. Wanted to ask you how you're feeling about Breakpoint so far now that we're in day 2. Day 1's in the books. What are your vibes for this?
Yeah, I'm feeling great. The event every year gets better and better and better. This is, I want to say, the 5th Breakpoint I've been at, and I think every year it becomes a bigger and bigger production. So an incredible job by the whole team here. Ellie in particular, she's incredible at this stuff. So, this is the best one yet, and couldn't be happier with the way it's turned out.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more on that. Now, let's talk about the market and, what's going on in this ecosystem, and what are your expectations for crypto in 2026 and beyond?
I think what we're seeing happen right now is we're at an inflection point where the industry is certainly starting to mature. We're starting to get all the regulatory clarity that we've begged for the past several years. The technology is getting to a place where not only can it scale, but it can support real businesses at kind of a global scale. And I think what we're seeing on Solana in particular is everybody's coalescing around this internet capital markets meme, where we're no longer thinking about only meme coins, right? Stablecoins are starting to have their moment. Tokenized equities are starting to enter the discourse. I think just today we saw, DTCC now get a no action letter from the SEC talking about, some of the explorations that it's doing to bring stocks, on chain. And so I think the question is ultimately going to be, what's going to be the canonical representation for internet capital markets going forward. And I think Solana is certainly one of the kind of pioneering leaders on that front. And so I think it couldn't be a better time to be building in crypto right now, because we're starting to really turn the page from dreaming about what's possible to actually seeing it come to existence. And this whole collective vision that the whole industry has had of upgrading the financial system is starting to come to life. And so I think what we're seeing right now is super inspiring, and I think there's a ton of work left, and it's a kind of great time to be in the industry.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I'm seeing so many different companies, right? So many people, builders, innovators that are here that are obviously building on Solana and excited to build on Solana. You've built multiple things on Solana. So first, I actually want to talk to you kind of just about NFTs in general, right? When these first came out in 2021, we had these grand visions of what they could be. People speculated like crazy. And, here 4 years later, I kind of want to ask you, how do you think this market has evolved? And maybe how is your thinking on, NFTs evolved?
I think there's a couple ways that you can think about NFTs. Fundamentally, you have this very real group of people coalescing around a shared identity, whether that's a brand, whether that's a product. You see this with Mad Lads, where you have people all around the world. And so I was looking at a map last night where we had at our event, and one of the Mad Lads was showing me you can go to every major city around the world and meet up with a group of Mad Lads, whether you're in New York, San Francisco, Abu Dhabi, or in Sydney, Australia. And so it's this kind of, on the one hand, very real community. On the other hand, we saw this explosion of speculative activity, obviously in 21, and with the rise of everything under the sun, kind of under the guise of an NFT. And I think ultimately, what we've seen is this, I guess Veblen good, I guess failed to live up to some of the promises that I think a lot of the mania in the last NFT cycle promoted. But out of those ashes, kind of came, I think, something much more sustainable, where now you look at, whether it's Pudgy Penguins or Bored Ape Yacht Clubs or Mad Lads, you see kind of these very real communities coalescing around these very real businesses. And so I think that is a very healthy dynamic, where it is this, shelling point for kind of a group of people to kind of have a shared sense of purpose in this new form factor. Normally, this might happen in the context of art or music, or any type of subculture in any different part of the world, right? Whether it's surfing in Southern California, or whether it's the mountains and people skiing and snowboarding. Crypto is just another subculture, right? And I think NFTs are the form factor where you see a lot of this kind of convergence of, on the one hand, technology, and on the other hand, a very real kind of social movement. And that expresses itself in very different ways for very different NFT projects. And so, I think that's kind of the current state of the NFT market. On the one hand, it's very dead. And, you probably won't see the mania of 2021 return. But on the other hand, you have, I think, very real cultural artifacts that have been birthed, whether it's CryptoPunks or Mad Lads, and that's not going away anytime soon. And so it's I guess a healthy dynamic of boom, bust, and sustainability. And so I think the market has certainly changed, but I think it's ultimately for the better.
Yeah. Now you mentioned a few NFT projects with legendary communities. I think everyone in this space knows, right? Obviously, Mad Lads included, but the difference is all those other projects are on Ethereum, right? And Mad Lads was on Solana, and you guys introduced Mad Lads on Solana in a time where people weren't really thinking about NFTs on Solana. All the craze and the hype was on ETH, right? Why Solana, and what made you excited or interested in releasing a project that has now essentially become synonymous with Solana?
Yeah, so I really had the privilege of coming to Solana in September of 2020. It was, very early in kind of the birth of the network. And, I had really the honor of meeting and building alongside of, a lot of the people that kind of are still around today. And so when we did Mad Lads in, I guess, 2023, it was very much a no-brainer. Somebody asked me yesterday, like how I would describe, what Solana means to me. And my response was Solana is, a second home on the internet. And that's just genuinely, I guess, how I feel about the community. And so for me, it was absolutely a no-brainer to do Mad Lads on Solana. We wouldn't have done it anywhere else because we genuinely believe, even in the bottom of the bear market in 2022 and 2023, that Solana was some of the most important technology in the world. And there's no other place that I'd want to build a community around than on this network. And so, it's pretty kind of a simple decision for us. And I think, a big reason that Mad Lads has succeeded is because of how incredible, obviously, Solana is. And so, it's kind of as simple as that.
Yeah. And, obviously, you built a great community on Solana, but that's not the only thing you've built on Solana, right? We've got to talk about Backpack. It's a wallet, it's an exchange. Can you talk to us kind of about maybe some of the successes that you've had with Backpack and some of the challenges that you've had kind of growing this into, a wallet and an exchange?
So, I mean, for folks, this context, what Backpack is, you can kind of think of it as a unified portfolio where you have a single place to have not just your, dollars, but your crypto, and not just your crypto, but, eventually all of your kind of, assets that you might kind of need in your life, right? Where you can trade spot margin, borrow lending, perps. I want to be able to put in my Apple stock, borrow dollars, and be able to go buy a house. And whether it's the wallet or the exchange, ultimately what we're trying to do is be able to, look at a user and be able to say, not only is this the safest and the most secure place for you to have your money, but also it's a place where you have the most economic opportunity, whether you're looking for, good yield for your, savings, or whether you're looking for something a little, further out on the risk spectrum, or you're looking for something safe and buying, the S&P 500, maybe through a more traditional broker dealer. And I think the unique path that we've taken, maybe not so unique in traditional finance, but I would say quite unique in the crypto world, is we are this very unique blend of DeFi and CeFi, where on the one hand, we have a self-custodial wallet. It's fully client-side, your keys, your coins, privacy preserving in the sense that, we're not tracking you, and really kind of, the best of what crypto has to offer. And on the other side of the spectrum, we have a fully regulated centralized exchange, where, we have a very large compliance team. We put a lot of work and a lot of time, energy, and resources into being compliant. And that is by far, I think, been one of the biggest challenges with building the company, is being able to toe that line between those two worlds. And I think a big part of the reason why, we've chosen this path is because I think crypto is fundamentally, next generation financial technology, but finance by itself ultimately isn't very useful. It's, you might have the best accounting software in the world, or, the best market structure in the world, but if you don't have real value, right, then you have this speculative, maybe Ouroboros of a snake eating its own tail. And all the value in the world is in traditional finance, right? It's, whether it's, US equities, real estate, bonds, or whatever it might be. And so ultimately what we are trying to do is kind of bridge these two worlds so that you can have a unified portfolio to be able to manage all of your finances. And I think fundamentally what we're seeing with crypto, not just as a technological movement, but also as a social movement, is the evolution of finance into this new global kind of capital market structure that is, in real time changing the world of modern finance. And so with Backpack, ultimately, we're trying to kind of be in the center of that revolution. And it's something that's, been happening over the past, several years. We've been building the company for, 3 years at this point. It's something that's, not going to finish over the next 1-2 years, something that's, going to be an entire lifetime. And, we're kind of at the center of it all as a wallet and as an exchange. And, we have the privilege of, being to kind of see it from every angle as a result. So, that's kind of, where we're coming from.
Yeah. Now, kind of sticking on the theme of like Backpack and also community, right? Because community is very important in Web3, and you are one of the few, people in Web3 that have built a very strong community, but also is delivering products to the overall market, right? When I think of that, I think of also Pudgy Penguins kind of doing something similar, but obviously in a different way. But how do you balance, rewarding and, incentivizing the community that you've built while also building products that are going to be attractive to the broader market and onboarding more people into that ecosystem?
It's super hard, to be frank. I wouldn't say I have, a magical answer. I think, it's really easy to get distracted with, things that don't matter. And it's really hard to ultimately make everybody, happy. And I think the one, guiding light, whether you're building a community or building a company, it's the same. It's to just listen to your users and ultimately to, use all of the trite, but very real and very true. There's a reason why it's so common, all the advice that you hear in traditional startups, right? And so I think for us, the focus is ultimately to build a great product. And I think we're very lucky as a community to be able to coalesce around the wallets and the exchange, because it's really kind of, these products really have this sense of gravity about them, where, wallets are connecting to every network, every decentralized app, every protocol. The exchange interacts with the most important primitive that crypto has to offer, tokens. So you're really kind of at the center of it all, where you're kind of listing new projects constantly, integrating new L1s, and being able to work with any and every single project in this like rich crypto economy that's being built around the world. And so the Mad Lads are the Backpack users, and the Backpack users are the community. And so, I think we have been very lucky to be able to build a community off the back of this product, whether it was the original whitelist for the NFT mint, the mint itself, the Mad Lads original kind of application, i.e. the XNFT that, a bunch of people did airdrops through, to now the VIP program on the exchange and everything that has to come after that. And so it's this, combination of things where the community has a sense of purpose, namely building these products. The products not only have a community, but has the entire industry really revolving around it. And so we're really able to kind of connect our users and our community with other projects and other protocols that want access to them. And being able to like provide this sense of purpose alongside this center of gravity, and to be able to actually genuinely care about what we're building, I think is a kind of important kind of three-legged stool of sorts, where, you know, we try to do kind of all those three things as we're trying to, you know, build great products for the world.
Now, you know, speaking of these great products that you're building, when you look ahead maybe 3 to 5 years from now, where do you see Backpack being, and where do you see it being in the market? Do you see it being kind of global everywhere? How do you envision that?
Yeah, I mean, no doubt it's going to be global. It already is global. We've got folks, offices, licenses in everywhere you can imagine. We've got an office in Dubai. We've got an office in Tokyo. We've got people in the US and Australia and Europe, you name it. We are very much a global crypto native financial institution. And I think beyond just being global, I think, you know, looking out, you know, 3, 4, 5 years from now, I think DeFi is ultimately going to blend with CeFi, and CeFi is ultimately going to blend with DeFi, and it's ultimately just going to be finance. And as we have this, you know, global evolution of market structure, there will be several crypto companies that are kind of spearheading that movement. And we've already seen that with the likes of Coinbase, in the US, you know, kind of the, you know, Asian exchanges, out in, you know, Korea and Japan. And, I think we'll continue to see that. And I think, expanding the market beyond just crypto, crypto native assets to more traditional assets, I think is something that everybody is thinking about right now. And I think ultimately that is going to be one of the most important up levels, if you want to, you know, use that term, that the industry is going to kind of, achieve over the next couple of years, where, you know, you'll have your brokerage account, you'll have your retirement account, you have your crypto assets, maybe you'll have your real estate, whatever it might be, and all be tokenized and exchanged, on chain. And I think that's the future that we're marching towards. And that's kind of, what, you know, I think gets us so excited about what we're building.
Wow, it's really exciting stuff. You know, before I let you go, you know, you kind of touched on it, but I want to ask you a little more directly. What excites you the most about the future of crypto, and what's one key takeaway you want people to come away with about where crypto is heading?
I think so much of where crypto came from was to solve a lot of these trust issues that you see with traditional systems. And as part of that, there was a bunch of incredible technology that was built. Anatoly famously referred to Solana as like this parallel financial system, a breakpoint or two ago. But ultimately, like I was kind of saying earlier, finance in and of itself is not useful for the world, right? It is finance in combination with real world goods and services that really makes, I think, special kind of outcomes for the world. And so I think what I'm most excited about is seeing all of this technology that has been built over the past, over a decade at this point, finally make its way to kind of the real economy, in a way that, we've kind of only kind of dreamed about kind of in previous cycles. And I think the moment that happens, the moment you can start talking about not just crypto native assets, but real assets, real companies, real cash flows, then you start, fulfilling this kind of dream that everybody's been talking about of kind of, reimagining kind of, the global economy. And I think that is, what we're going to see over the next couple of years. And I think that's a big part of, what gets us, excited and out of bed every morning.
Yeah, absolutely. Armani, this has been a fantastic conversation. Really looking forward to seeing where Backpack and the lads go in the future. I know everyone on Solana is going to be watching that journey. And thanks again for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
Of course.
So you obviously like this video enough that you've got to the end. That's quite a big task. But listen, do me a favor. Hit the like and subscribe button, and also check out what video's next, because I think you'll love it. But if you want even more, and when I'm talking more, I'm talking about member-generated ideas, incredible alpha, research, everything there to help you in your journey. Just head to realvision.com/join for the best financial intelligence out there and the pure alpha that's within the platform.